Money feels unstable long before it actually is. Long before numbers become a problem, there's already a quiet tension in the background. I felt it even when income was fine, even when nothing was technically wrong. That was the first sign I missed, because money doesn't warn you loudly, it signals softly. At the time, I thought the solution was obvious. Earn more, work harder, be more disciplined. But money doesn't work that way. Over time, watching money move, not in theory, but in real life, one pattern became impossible to ignore. Money is not a reward system. It is a rule-based system. It doesn't respond to effort. It responds to behavior. Not what you do once, what you repeat. That's why one person can earn well and still feel fragile. That's why years of progress can disappear in a single moment. And that's why others seem calm even when conditions change. Calm is not confidence. Calm is compliance with rules. The uncomfortable truth is this: money doesn't punish ignorance. It punishes violations, and most violations happen quietly. Small decisions, emotional reactions, short-term thinking disguised as common sense. This audiobook is not about getting rich. It's about stopping the behaviors that quietly destroy wealth. I didn't learn these rules from books. I learned them by watching patterns repeat, in my own decisions and in the lives of people who never seemed worried about money. They weren't impressive. They weren't loud. They weren't trying to prove anything. They simply didn't cross certain lines. Once you see those lines, money becomes easier to understand. Not because it changes, but because you do. In the chapters ahead, we'll go through 8 rules. Not strategies, not tactics. Rules. Rules the wealthy never break, because breaking them always leads to the same result. Instability, stress, regret. You don't need more information. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer rule violations. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Money never rewards. Effort feels meaningful. When you put in long hours, when you sacrifice comfort, when you push yourself past exhaustion, it feels natural to expect something in return. Not immediately, but eventually. That expectation is deeply human, and that is exactly why it fails with money. Because money does not operate on human emotions, it does not respond to struggle, it does not acknowledge sacrifice, and it does not reward sincerity. Money follows a different logic, a colder one, a quieter one. Money responds to value, and value is not effort. Effort is visible. Value often isn't. You can see someone working late into the night. You can feel the tiredness in your body. You can count the hours, the days, the years. But money doesn't measure hours. It measures results. This is where confusion begins. Early in life, effort and reward sometimes align. You study harder and grades improve. You work more and income increases. You push yourself and progress appears. That alignment is temporary, and it creates a dangerous belief. That effort itself is the mechanism. Over time, that belief becomes a trap. Because effort has limits. There are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy in a body, only so much stress the mind can absorb. Money knows this. That is why it eventually stops responding. When effort becomes the strategy, progress becomes fragile. One illness, one interruption, one mistake, and everything feels at risk. This is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Money is designed to move toward what continues working without constant force. It favors things that endure, things that scale, things that remain useful even when attention is withdrawn. Effort does none of that. Effort is temporary. Value persists. This distinction explains a quiet pattern that repeats everywhere. Some people work relentlessly and remain anxious. Some earn well and still feel unstable. Some do everything right and never feel ahead. And then there are others. Not louder, not flashier, often less visible, but calmer. Calm during uncertainty, calm during change, calm when outcomes are unclear. That calm is not confidence, it is structural. It comes from not depending on effort alone. Money never rewarded effort. If it did, exhaustion would create wealth. Burnout would be a strategy, and the hardest labor would always win. None of that happens. Money flows toward leverage. Leverage is what allows the same action to produce results repeatedly. It is what allows output without constant input. It is what removes dependency on force. Think of the difference between pushing and positioning. Pushing requires energy every time. Positioning lets gravity do the work. Money follows gravity. This is why effort-based thinking eventually leads to resentment. Because when effort stops working, people feel betrayed. They feel overlooked, unfairly treated, undervalued. But money never promised fairness. It promised consistency. Effort-based systems break because they rely on continuous sacrifice. Value-based systems hold because they rely on structure. Structure creates margin. Margin creates patience. Patience creates clarity. This is why the wealthy rarely ask how hard they should work. They ask different questions. What continues to function when I step away? What remains valuable even when I'm not present? What compounds instead of depletes? These questions shift behavior naturally. Less urgency, fewer emotional decisions, more attention to durability. Effort still exists, but it is redirected. Not toward survival, toward design, not toward proving worth, toward building systems. Effort becomes a tool, not an identity. This is where many people resist. Because effort feels moral. It feels honest. It feels deserved. Value feels abstract, impersonal, unfair. But money does not operate on morality. It operates on utility. Once this is understood, something subtle changes. The pressure to do more begins to fade. The need to hustle endlessly weakens, and the focus shifts from intensity to alignment. Money never rewarded effort. It rewarded what worked. Quietly, consistently, and without drama. This rule is not meant to discourage effort. It is meant to free it, to stop wasting it on systems that break under pressure, to stop feeding structures that demand constant output, to stop mistaking exhaustion for progress. When effort is applied to building value, money begins to respond differently. Not with excitement, not with sudden breakthroughs, but with stability. And stability is the foundation of wealth. This is the first rule. Ignore it, and money will remain fragile. Respect it, and everything else becomes possible. Chapter 2. Avoiding loss is more important than making money. Loss is louder than gain. One bad decision can erase years of careful progress. One emotional moment can undo what patience spent a lifetime building. And once loss enters the picture, clarity disappears. Money does not grow in straight lines. It grows in fragile layers. Each layer depends on the one beneath it. And when the base cracks, everything above becomes unstable. This is why avoiding loss matters more than making money. Growth feels exciting. Loss feels personal. That emotional imbalance is what misleads people. Chasing gains feels productive. Avoiding loss feels passive. But money rewards survival first. If something cannot survive, it cannot compound. If it cannot compound, growth becomes an illusion. This is why wealth is rarely built by bold moves. It is preserved by quiet restraint. Loss does not always arrive dramatically. It often enters slowly, through overconfidence, through urgency, through the belief that this time is different. Loss hides behind excitement. The more emotional the decision, the higher the risk of permanent damage. Money is indifferent to emotion. It does not forgive mistakes. It does not care about intentions. It reacts only to outcomes. A small loss can be recovered. A large loss changes behavior. After a significant loss, people become cautious. But caution born from fear is unstable. The wealthy understand this distinction. They avoid losses before fear enters the equation, not because they are conservative, but because they understand asymmetry. It takes far less effort to lose than to gain. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain just to return to zero. Time cannot be rushed backward. This is why protection precedes expansion. Every sustainable system prioritizes stability before growth. Buildings rely on foundations, bodies rely on immune systems. Money relies on downside control. Without protection, progress becomes temporary. The wealthy do not ask how much they can make. They ask how much they can afford to lose. That question changes behavior. Decisions slow down. Risk is examined instead of admired. Excitement loses authority. Avoiding loss does not mean avoiding opportunity. It means refusing to risk survival for momentum. Momentum is seductive. It creates the illusion of control. But momentum without protection collapses under pressure. This is why people who chase gains often feel constantly exposed. Every fluctuation becomes stressful. Every decision carries emotional weight. There is no margin for error. Margin creates calm. Calm allows time to do its work. The wealthy understand that wealth is not built by being right all the time. It is built by not being wrong in irreversible ways. They avoid situations where a single mistake can destroy everything. They do not gamble with what cannot be replaced. Time, reputation, peace of mind. Loss is not just financial. Emotional losses influence future decisions. They reduce patience. They increase urgency. Urgency is dangerous. It compresses time. It magnifies risk. It invites shortcuts. Money punishes shortcuts. Avoiding loss means designing decisions that allow mistakes without disaster. It means ensuring that no single choice carries disproportionate weight. This is why diversification exists. Why reserves matter. Why leverage is treated with caution. Not because wealth fears growth, but because it respects fragility. Growth without protection is noise. Protection without growth is stagnation. The balance lies in sequence. First survive, then expand. People who reverse that order pay a price. Loss teaches harsh lessons because it must. Money cannot afford to be compassionate. It enforces discipline through consequences. Those who survive long enough learn to respect it. Avoiding loss is not weakness. It is intelligence expressed quietly. It is the recognition that staying in the game matters more than winning early. Time rewards those who remain. Every avoided loss is invisible progress. Every preserved dollar is potential energy. The wealthy understand this deeply. They protect the downside not out of fear, but out of respect for time. Money cannot grow if it is constantly repairing damage. Avoiding loss is not about playing small. It is about playing long. This is the second rule. Ignore it, and growth will always feel unstable. Respect it, and money begins to behave differently. Not with excitement, not with drama, but with consistency. And consistency is where wealth quietly forms. Chapter 3. If you don't own assets, you will always work. Work feels productive. You show up, you perform, you get paid. There is a clean simplicity to it. Effort in, money out. For a long time, that exchange feels stable, predictable, even comforting. But hidden inside it is a quiet dependency. If you stop, money stops. That dependency is the real issue. Not income, not ambition, dependency. Ownership breaks dependency. Labor reinforces it. This is the line that separates work from wealth. Assets are not objects. They are systems. Anything that continues to produce value without your constant presence qualifies. It does not need to be impressive. It does not need to be large. It does not need to be fast. It needs to persist. Income that depends on your presence is fragile. Assets that function without you create margin. Margin creates freedom. This is why high income does not equal security. A surgeon earning a large salary still works. A lawyer billing hours still works. A consultant trading expertise for time still works. The income may be high, but the structure is unchanged. Time is still the bottleneck. Ownership removes the bottleneck. This is uncomfortable to accept because work feels virtuous. You can see it, you can justify it, you can explain it. Ownership is quieter. It often looks slow, it often looks boring, and it rarely provides immediate validation. But money respects ownership, because ownership separates effort from reward. An asset does not care how you feel today. It does not require motivation. It does not negotiate. It either functions or it doesn't. That reliability is what money values. This is why people who own assets think differently about time. They do not ask how to fill their days. They ask how to remove themselves from unnecessary involvement. They design once so they do not have to repeat. Labor repeats. Ownership compounds. This difference changes behavior at a fundamental level. When income comes from labor, urgency dominates. Every interruption feels dangerous. Every pause feels expensive. When income comes from assets, patience becomes possible. Time stops being an enemy. It becomes an ally. This is why asset owners can wait. They are not waiting for opportunity. They are letting systems do their work. Most people misunderstand assets because they focus on form instead of function. They think assets must be large. They think assets must be expensive. They think assets must look like traditional investments. But size is irrelevant. Function is everything. An asset is anything that pays you repeatedly without requiring repeated effort. That could be ownership in a business. It could be intellectual property. It could be a system that attracts value. It could be equity. It could be something digital, physical, or abstract. The form changes. The principle does not. If you must be present for money to arrive, you do not own an asset. You own a job, even if that job pays well. This realization is unsettling because it reframes success. It forces a shift away from appearance and toward structure. Many people look wealthy but remain dependent. Others look ordinary but are structurally free. Money sees the difference immediately. Dependency creates pressure. Pressure distorts decisions. Under pressure, people chase. They rush. They compromise. Assets reduce pressure. They create breathing room. Breathing room improves judgment. Judgment compounds. This is why wealthy people obsess over ownership early. Not because they hate work, but because they understand its limits. Work consumes time. Ownership redeems it. This does not mean effort disappears. It changes direction. Effort moves from execution to design, from doing to building, from reacting to structuring. Design is front-loaded. Execution is endless. Assets are built once and maintained lightly. Labor is maintained constantly. This is why asset building feels uncomfortable at first. It delays reward. It demands patience. It provides little reassurance. But it changes the relationship with money permanently. Once ownership exists, even in small form, behavior shifts. Spending becomes more intentional. Risk becomes more calculated. Time becomes less compressed. The wealthy are not allergic to work. They are allergic to dependency. They do not want their survival tied to their presence. They want systems that continue regardless of mood, health, or circumstance. This is not laziness. It is respect for reality. Reality eventually interrupts everyone. Health changes. Energy fluctuates. Priorities shift. Labor collapses under interruption. Assets endure. This is why people who rely solely on labor feel anxious even during success. They know, consciously or not, that it cannot last forever. Assets acknowledge that truth and work with it. Ownership is not about escape. It is about insulation. It insulates income from time. It insulates decisions from emotion. It insulates life from constant urgency. The absence of ownership explains why some people feel trapped despite earning well. Their income is impressive. Their structure is fragile. The presence of ownership explains why others feel calm with less. Their income may be modest. Their structure is resilient. Money respects resilience. This is the third rule. If you do not own assets, you will always work. Not because work is bad, but because money demands continuity. Ownership provides it. Ignore this rule and time will always feel scarce. Respect it and time begins to work for you. Quietly, relentlessly, without asking permission. Chapter 4. Compounding only works for the patient. Compounding is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not reward urgency, and it does not respond to excitement. It works slowly, almost invisibly, until it doesn't. Until one day, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Most people misunderstand compounding because they approach it emotionally. They expect progress to feel productive. They expect effort to feel rewarding. They expect time to cooperate. Compounding refuses all of that. It demands patience without reassurance. At the beginning, compounding feels disappointing. Progress is barely noticeable. Results seem insignificant. Effort appears wasted. This is where most people leave. Not because compounding failed, but because impatience took control. Money does not compound for those who need constant feedback. It compounds for those who can tolerate boredom. Time is not neutral. It favors consistency over intensity. It rewards persistence over brilliance. It amplifies small advantages accumulated without interruption. Compounding is not about speed. It is about staying invested, staying disciplined, staying aligned with a decision long after the excitement fades. This is difficult because the early stages of compounding feel unfair. You do the right things, you make the right choices, and nothing seems to happen. But compounding is not linear. It is delayed. Growth arrives late and then accelerates. This delay creates doubt. Doubt invites interference. Interference destroys compounding. Every time you interrupt the process, you reset the clock. Every time you switch strategies, you abandon accumulated momentum. Every time you chase something faster, you sacrifice something stronger. The wealthy understand this deeply. They do not confuse motion with progress. They do not mistake activity for effectiveness. They understand that compounding requires stillness. Stillness of strategy, stillness of behavior, stillness of identity. Once a decision is made, they allow time to work. This is why compounding feels magical to those who observe it late. They see outcomes without seeing the years of quiet consistency underneath. They see results without seeing restraint. But restraint is the price. Compounding punishes impatience more than it rewards intelligence. You do not need to be exceptional. You need to be uninterrupted. This is why intelligent people often sabotage compounding. They overthink. They optimize too early. They interfere too often. They mistake refinement for progress. Compounding does not need refinement. It needs protection. Protection from emotion. Protection from comparison. Protection from the temptation to do something better. Better is often the enemy of finished. And finished is where compounding begins. This is why time is the most misunderstood variable in wealth. People treat time as something to defeat. They rush it. They compress it. They demand results from it. Time does not respond to pressure. It responds to respect. Respect means allowing processes to mature without interference. Respect means accepting that progress will feel slow long before it feels rewarding. Respect means choosing consistency even when alternatives look more exciting. Compounding rewards those who do not get bored easily. Boredom is the test. If you cannot tolerate boredom, you will never experience exponential growth. Because exponential growth happens after long periods of flatness. Flat periods feel like failure to the impatient. To the patient, they feel like preparation. This is why compounding works best when expectations are low and discipline is high. High expectations create emotional pressure. Emotional pressure leads to action. Action disrupts compounding. The wealthy learn to reduce expectation while increasing consistency. They do not watch the clock. They do not track daily fluctuations. They do not emotionally engage with short-term outcomes. They commit and detach. Detachment is not indifference. It is trust in the process. Trust built from understanding how time behaves. Compounding is fragile early and unstoppable later. This asymmetry is what confuses people. They quit when compounding is fragile. They admire it when it becomes unstoppable. By then, it is too late to replicate quickly. Time cannot be rushed. This is why patience is not passive. It is active restraint. Restraint from changing direction, restraint from reacting emotionally, restraint from seeking validation. Compounding punishes impatience because impatience creates noise. Noise interrupts signal. Signal is what compounds. This principle applies beyond money. Relationships compound, skills compound, reputation compounds. In every case, impatience resets progress. The wealthy internalize this across all domains. They move slowly at first. They commit early. They stay longer than feels comfortable. They understand that compounding is not something you start. It is something you protect. Protect from yourself. Protect from distraction. Protect from urgency disguised as opportunity. This is why compounding rarely feels impressive in real time. It feels uneventful. Uneventful is good. Uneventful means uninterrupted. Uninterrupted is where growth hides. This is the fourth rule. Compounding only works for the patient. Not because patience is virtuous, but because impatience is destructive. Ignore this rule and you will constantly restart. Respect it, and time will eventually do what nothing else can. Multiply quietly, relentlessly, without asking for attention. Chapter 5. The wealthy protect their energy. Before their money, energy is the hidden currency. Long before money is lost, energy is drained. Long before a bad decision is made, attention is scattered. And long before financial stress appears, focus has already been compromised. Money follows energy, not in a mystical sense, in a practical one. Every financial decision requires clarity. Clarity requires calm. Calm requires energy. When energy is depleted, judgment deteriorates. This is why people often make their worst financial decisions when they are tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally charged. They are not irrational, they are exhausted. The wealthy understand this connection intuitively. They do not treat energy as an afterthought. They treat it as infrastructure. Because without energy, money becomes difficult to manage. Even in abundance, energy leaks quietly, through unnecessary conflict, through constant urgency, through environments that demand reaction instead of intention. Most people attempt to manage money directly. The wealthy manage the conditions that influence their decisions. They know that protecting energy reduces mistakes. Mistakes are expensive. This is why wealthy people appear selective, not just with investments, but with people, commitments, and information. They do not expose themselves to chaos voluntarily. Chaos is not stimulating, it is corrosive. Every interruption fragments attention, every fragment reduces quality. Reduced quality increases risk. Risk compounds faster when decisions are emotional. This is why drama and wealth rarely coexist. Drama consumes energy. Energy loss creates reactive behavior. Reactive behavior invites financial error. The wealthy avoid drama not because they are detached, but because they are disciplined. They understand that emotional volatility has a cost. That cost is rarely visible immediately, but it is always paid eventually. Energy protection is not about comfort. It is about control. Control over attention, control over response, control over pace. The ability to pause before acting is one of the most valuable financial skills. Pausing requires energy. When energy is low, everything feels urgent. When everything feels urgent, nothing is prioritized correctly. Urgency compresses time. Compressed time produces shallow decisions. Shallow decisions accumulate consequences. This is why the wealthy slow things down. They do not rush. They do not force timelines. They do not make decisions under pressure unless absolutely necessary. Pressure is the enemy of clarity. Clarity preserves capital. This is also why wealthy environments feel different. They are quieter, less reactive, less crowded with noise. Noise demands attention. Attention drains energy. The wealthy curate information carefully. They do not consume everything. They do not react to every fluctuation. They do not allow headlines to dictate behavior. They understand that constant stimulation leads to emotional trading. Emotional trading destroys capital. Energy protection also explains why wealthy people value routine. Routine reduces decision fatigue. Decision fatigue drains energy. Drained energy leads to impulsive choices. By simplifying daily decisions, energy is preserved for what matters. What matters is judgment. Judgment determines outcomes. Money amplifies judgment. Good judgment, compounded, creates wealth. Poor judgment, compounded, creates loss. This is why money often magnifies who someone already is. It does not fix internal chaos. It exposes it. The wealthy recognize this early. They do not rely on willpower. They design their lives to reduce unnecessary friction. They choose environments that support focus. They limit exposure to negativity. They protect their time fiercely. Time without energy is useless. Energy without direction is wasted. Money requires both. This is also why wealthy people are careful with commitments. Every commitment consumes energy. Too many commitments fragment focus. Fragmented focus degrades performance. Performance impacts results. Results determine sustainability. Sustainability is the goal. Short-term intensity is impressive. Long-term consistency is powerful. Consistency depends on energy. This is why burnout is rare among those who manage wealth well. They do not operate at maximum output constantly. They operate at sustainable levels. They understand that wealth is not a sprint. It is not even a marathon. It is an indefinite process. Indefinite processes require conservation. Conservation of energy. Conservation of attention. Conservation of emotional bandwidth. Money does not reward intensity, it rewards durability. Durability is built on energy management. This is also why wealthy people step away when necessary. They rest without guilt. They pause without panic. They disconnect without fear. They trust their systems. Trust reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety preserves energy. Energy preservation improves judgment. The cycle reinforces itself. Contrast this with those who constantly chase money. They are always alert, always reacting, always exhausted. Exhaustion leads to mistakes. Mistakes cost money. The wealthy reverse this sequence. They protect energy first. Then they deploy capital. This order matters. Money invested without clarity becomes risk. Money invested with clarity becomes leverage. Energy is the filter that determines the difference. This rule extends beyond finances. Relationships require energy. Health requires energy. Learning requires energy. Wealth cannot compensate for depleted energy. It only magnifies its absence. This is why protecting energy is not selfish. It is strategic. The wealthy are not avoiding effort. They are avoiding waste. Waste of attention, waste of emotion, waste of decision-making capacity. Every avoided drain is a preserved advantage. This is the fifth rule. Protect your energy before your money. Ignore it, and financial decisions will always feel heavy. Respect it, and clarity becomes a constant companion. And clarity is the quiet force behind lasting wealth. Chapter 6. Systems create wealth. Lifestyles destroy it. Lifestyle feels visible. It shows progress. It signals success. It offers immediate proof that things are working. Systems feel invisible. They operate quietly. They do not impress. They rarely attract attention. And that difference is exactly why systems create wealth, while lifestyles quietly consume it. Money is not destroyed by poverty. It is destroyed by premature comfort. When income increases, lifestyle is the first thing people upgrade. Not because they need to, but because it feels earned. This is where the leak begins. A lifestyle requires constant feeding. More spending, more maintenance, more obligation. Once expanded, it resists contraction. Systems behave differently. Systems do not demand validation. They do not care about appearance. They do not require emotional reinforcement. They exist to function. The wealthy understand this distinction early. They do not use income to upgrade life. They use income to build structure. Structure creates leverage. Leverage creates independence. Lifestyle creates dependency. This dependency is subtle. At first, higher spending feels manageable. Then it becomes normal. Then it becomes necessary. What once felt optional becomes mandatory. This is how high earners remain trapped. Their income grows, their expenses follow, and freedom never arrives. The system never changes. Money does not reward appearance. It rewards sustainability. Sustainability comes from systems. Systems produce outcomes repeatedly without increasing effort. Lifestyles require increasing input just to maintain status. One scales, the other inflates. Inflation is not progress. It is pressure disguised as success. This is why people with impressive lifestyles often feel tense. They must keep earning. They must maintain momentum. They must avoid interruption. Systems remove that tension. They reduce reliance on continuous effort. They absorb shocks. They provide margin. Margin is what lifestyle quietly destroys. The wealthy delay lifestyle upgrades not because they lack desire, but because they understand sequence. First build systems, then enjoy outcomes. Reversing that order is expensive. When lifestyle expands before systems exist, future income is pre-spent. This creates urgency. Urgency compresses decision-making. Compressed decisions increase risk. Risk undermines systems. The cycle feeds itself. This is why lifestyle often grows faster than wealth. It is emotionally easier. You can feel it immediately. Others can see it. It confirms success externally. Systems offer none of that. They feel slow. They feel boring. They feel unrewarding in the short term. But money respects boredom, because boredom signals stability. Stability allows time to work. Time compounds systems. Time punishes lifestyle inflation. This is why wealthy people appear conservative early. They drive less impressive cars. They live in modest homes. They resist visible upgrades. Not out of fear, out of discipline. They know every dollar used to inflate lifestyle is a dollar not reinforcing structure. Structure is what protects them later. Lifestyle only reflects what already exists. This also explains why sudden wealth disappears quickly. When money arrives faster than systems, lifestyle expands instantly. Without structure, money becomes fuel for consumption. Consumption creates pleasure. Pleasure demands repetition. Repetition accelerates depletion. Without systems, there is no resistance. Money exits as easily as it entered. The wealthy do not confuse comfort with security. Comfort feels good. Security feels calm. Calm does not require display. It requires stability. Stability is produced by systems. Systems are built deliberately. They require planning. They require restraint. They require patience. Lifestyle requires none of that. It only requires permission. This is why systems feel uncomfortable. They delay gratification. They ask for discipline without applause. They reward patience quietly. But once systems exist, lifestyle becomes optional. Optionality is the true signal of wealth. The ability to choose, not the ability to display. Systems create choice. They reduce dependency on income. They reduce exposure to volatility. They reduce emotional pressure. Lifestyle increases all three. This is why wealthy people talk about cash flow, not consumption. Cash flow represents systems functioning. Consumption represents systems feeding appearance. One builds freedom. The other advertises progress. Money follows freedom. Freedom is created by structure. Structure is created by systems. This principle applies across all forms of wealth. Businesses rely on systems. Investments rely on systems. Even personal habits rely on systems. Anything that depends on constant motivation is fragile. Anything supported by structure endures. Lifestyle depends on motivation. Systems remove the need for it. This is why wealthy people appear calm even under stress. Their lives are not built on fragile inputs. They are built on redundancy. Redundancy is expensive to build, but cheap to maintain. Lifestyle is cheap to build, but expensive to maintain. The wealthy choose expensive construction to avoid expensive maintenance. This is the trade-off. Pay early or pay forever. Systems front-load effort. Lifestyles backload cost. The difference determines outcomes. This is why wealthy people invest before they indulge. They reinforce foundations before decorating walls. Decoration does not support weight. Foundations do. Money behaves like gravity. It flows toward structures that can hold it. Lifestyle repels money over time. It creates constant outward pressure. Systems pull money inward. They recycle value. They reinforce themselves. They attract opportunity quietly. The wealthy do not eliminate enjoyment. They sequence it. They understand that enjoyment without structure becomes stress. Structure without enjoyment becomes sterile. The order matters. Build systems first. Let lifestyle emerge naturally from stability. This rule explains why quiet wealth lasts longer than visible success. Visibility invites pressure. Pressure invites mistakes. Mistakes dismantle systems. Silence protects structure. Structure protects wealth. This is the sixth rule. Ignore it, and income will always feel fragile. Respect it, and money begins to support life instead of consuming it, quietly, reliably, without demand for attention. A system does not care how you feel. That is its strength. It functions on logic, sequence, and repetition. Once designed correctly, it keeps working whether motivation is high or low. A lifestyle, on the other hand, is emotional. It expands when confidence is high. It becomes stressful when confidence drops, and it demands constant reinforcement to feel justified. This emotional dependency is what makes lifestyles dangerous. They turn income into obligation. Every upgrade creates a new baseline. Every new baseline creates pressure to maintain it. And pressure quietly alters decision-making. Decisions made under pressure prioritize speed over quality. Speed creates mistakes. Mistakes damage systems. This is why systems must always come before comfort. Systems absorb volatility. Lifestyles amplify it. A system can survive a bad month. A lifestyle often cannot. When income fluctuates, systems adjust quietly. Lifestyles panic loudly. The wealthy understand that money's first job is not enjoyment. Its first job is insulation. Insulation from uncertainty. Insulation from emotion. Insulation from the need to react. Systems provide insulation. They create buffers. They build redundancy. They reduce the consequences of being wrong. Lifestyle removes buffers. It concentrates risk into personal comfort. This is why people who build systems first appear patient. They are not suppressing desire. They are sequencing it. They delay consumption not because they dislike comfort, but because they value optionality. Optionality is the ability to choose without pressure. Pressure eliminates choice. Systems remove pressure. Once pressure is removed, enjoyment becomes clean. Clean enjoyment does not threaten stability. But enjoyment built on fragile income always carries fear beneath it. Fear contaminates decision-making. This is why wealthy people do not emotionally attach to upgrades. They treat comfort as reversible. Reversible choices preserve control. Irreversible lifestyle decisions destroy it. Systems are reversible. They can be modified, paused, scaled, or exited. Lifestyle commitments resist reversal. They create psychological attachment. Attachment clouds judgment. Judgment errors compound. The wealthy protect judgment above all else. They know that money multiplies decision quality. Poor decisions with more money accelerate loss. Good decisions with stable systems accelerate freedom. This is why systems are boring by design. Boring systems are predictable. Predictability reduces stress. Reduced stress improves clarity. Clarity protects capital. Capital protected long enough compounds. Lifestyle excitement feels like progress, but it often marks the beginning of fragility. Systems feel slow, but they quietly convert time into leverage. The difference is not philosophical, it is structural, and structure always wins. Chapter 7. Silence is a financial advantage. Silence looks passive, but in money, silence is active protection. Noise creates pressure. Pressure distorts judgment. Distorted judgment invites mistakes. The wealthy understand this chain instinctively. They do not advertise plans. They do not narrate decisions. They do not seek validation while building. They move quietly, not because they are secretive, but because silence preserves options. Every word spoken publicly creates expectation. Expectation creates obligation. Obligation limits flexibility. Flexibility is a financial asset. Silence protects flexibility. When intentions are private, decisions remain reversible. When decisions are public, ego becomes involved. Ego is expensive. Once ego enters the process, choices are no longer evaluated objectively. They are defended emotionally. Defended decisions persist longer than they should. Silence prevents that. This is why wealthy people are careful about what they reveal. They understand that attention attracts influence, and influence is not always helpful. Advice increases when visibility increases. So does comparison. So does interference. Interference disrupts focus. Focus compounds results. Silence protects focus. This principle extends beyond money. In negotiations, silence creates leverage. In strategy, silence creates surprise. In investing, silence reduces reaction. Reaction is costly. Reacting to opinions, reacting to headlines, reacting to expectations created by others. The more visible you are, the more reactive pressure you experience. Silence reduces stimulus. Reduced stimulus improves decision quality. Decision quality determines outcomes. Money responds to outcomes. This is why wealthy people often appear detached. They are not indifferent. They are insulated. Insulation protects long-term thinking. Long-term thinking is incompatible with constant commentary. Commentary accelerates emotion. Emotion accelerates action. Action taken prematurely is expensive. Silence slows everything down. Slowing down allows time for clarity to emerge. Clarity exposes risk. Risk avoided is invisible profit. The wealthy understand that silence does not mean inactivity. They are often very active, just not publicly. They build while others broadcast. They test while others announce. They adjust while others commit publicly. Public commitment is binding. Private commitment is adaptable. Adaptability matters when conditions change. And conditions always change. This is why wealthy people do not rush to explain success. Explanation invites scrutiny. Scrutiny invites comparison. Comparison invites pressure. Pressure compromises patience. Patience is a financial advantage. Silence preserves patience. There is also a deeper layer to this rule. Silence protects identity. When you speak constantly about money, goals, or success, identity begins to form around outcomes. Outcomes fluctuate. When identity is attached to fluctuating outcomes, behavior becomes unstable. Silence keeps identity internal. Internal identity is stable. Stable identity produces consistent behavior. Consistent behavior compounds. This is why wealthy people are careful with celebration. They acknowledge progress privately. They avoid public victory laps. Public celebration invites future pressure to maintain image. Image maintenance is expensive. It influences spending. It influences risk tolerance. It influences timing. Timing distorted by image often leads to loss. Silence neutralizes image pressure. It allows decisions to be made based on reality, not perception. Money rewards reality. Perception is volatile. This is also why wealthy people limit their financial discussions. They do not debate strategies publicly. They do not seek consensus. They do not justify restraint. Restraint does not need explanation. Explanation weakens conviction. Conviction allows consistency. Consistency enables compounding. Silence also reduces exposure to envy. Envy creates expectations from others. Expectations create obligation. Obligation drains resources, financial and emotional. The wealthy minimize obligations. They choose autonomy over approval. Autonomy enables choice. Choice is wealth. Silence supports autonomy. There is a reason long-term builders are hard to identify early. They do not announce progress. They do not share milestones. They do not seek recognition while foundations are being laid. Foundations require privacy. Once a structure is stable, visibility becomes optional. But visibility before stability is dangerous. It invites premature stress tests. Silence delays those tests until the system can withstand them. This is why quiet wealth endures. It grows without interference. It matures without pressure. It adapts without embarrassment. Silence also protects against overcommitment. When plans are spoken aloud, psychological commitment increases. Even when evidence changes, people feel compelled to continue. Silence allows reversal without shame. Shame locks people into bad decisions. Wealth avoids shame by avoiding exposure. This does not mean isolation. It means discretion. Discretion filters input. Filtered input improves judgment. Improved judgment reduces error. Reduced error preserves capital. This is the quiet mathematics of silence. The wealthy are not antisocial. They are selective. They share information with those who add clarity, not those who add noise. Noise dilutes signal. Signal guides action. Action aligned with signal compounds. This rule is often misunderstood as arrogance. It is not. It is humility before uncertainty. The wealthy respect uncertainty enough to avoid broadcasting certainty. Certainty invites rigidity. Rigidity breaks under stress. Silence allows flexibility under pressure. Flexibility survives. This is why silence is not weakness. It is strength expressed quietly. It keeps options open. It keeps ego out. It keeps time working on your side. Money does not need narration. It needs structure. Silence protects structure. This is the seventh rule. Ignore it, and pressure will shape your decisions. Respect it, and clarity will remain intact. And clarity is the quiet ally of lasting wealth. Silence also protects learning. When you speak less, you observe more. When you observe more, patterns become visible. Patterns reveal risk. Risk identified early is inexpensive. Risk discovered late is catastrophic. The wealthy listen more than they explain. Explanation satisfies ego. Listening sharpens judgment. Judgment improves timing. Timing determines outcome. Silence creates space for reflection. Reflection slows impulse. Impulse accelerates regret. Money punishes regret. Silence also reduces emotional exposure. When plans are public, external opinions begin to shape internal conviction. Conviction diluted by outside noise becomes unstable. Unstable conviction leads to inconsistent behavior. Inconsistency breaks compounding. The wealthy guard conviction by limiting disclosure. They share selectively. They speak strategically. They avoid unnecessary transparency. Transparency feels honest, but in finance, it often creates vulnerability. Vulnerability attracts influence. Influence distorts intention. Intention distorted leads to misalignment. Misalignment leaks money. Silence keeps intention clean. Clean intention supports long-term thinking. Long-term thinking cannot survive constant feedback loops. Feedback accelerates reaction. Reaction replaces reflection. Reflection is where restraint is formed. Restraint protects wealth. This is why wealthy people do not argue about money. They do not defend decisions publicly. They do not justify patience. They do not debate restraint. Debate invites doubt. Doubt weakens execution. Execution weakened by doubt creates hesitation. Hesitation at critical moments is expensive. Silence avoids unnecessary doubt. It allows action to be guided by principle rather than opinion. Principles do not require consensus. They require consistency. Consistency compounds. Silence also protects from premature identity formation. When people speak publicly about goals or progress, identity begins to form around intention instead of behavior. Identity built on intention is fragile. Identity built on repeated action is strong. The wealthy allow identity to form quietly. They let behavior speak over time. Behavior observed consistently becomes reputation. Reputation built slowly is resilient. Reputation built loudly is fragile. Money respects resilience. This is why silence is not emptiness. It is containment. Containment of focus. Containment of emotion. Containment of optionality. Optionality is power without exposure. Exposure invites pressure. Pressure compromises clarity. Clarity is the true advantage. The wealthy are not silent because they lack confidence. They are silent because they understand leverage. Words create leverage for others. Silence preserves leverage for yourself. This is why silence remains one of the least discussed, yet most consistently practiced financial advantages. It does not draw attention. It does not feel impressive, and it cannot be easily copied. But it works. Quietly, persistently, without requiring acknowledgement, and in the long run, that quiet discipline shapes outcomes more reliably than any loud declaration ever could. Chapter 8. Money follows. Identity, not goals. Goals feel clear. They give direction. They offer motivation. They create something to aim at. But money does not follow goals. It follows identity. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because goals are conscious, while identity is quiet and automatic. Goals are what you say you want. Identity is how you behave when no one is watching. Money responds to behavior, and behavior is driven by identity. This is why so many goals fail. People set financial goals that contradict who they currently are. They want wealth, but think like spenders. They want freedom, but act like dependents. They want stability, but behave impulsively. The goal sounds correct. The identity does not support it. Money follows the identity, not the intention. This is why temporary motivation creates temporary results. You can force behavior for a while. You can discipline yourself briefly. You can follow rules mechanically. But under stress, identity takes over. And stress always arrives. Identity is what remains when effort fades. This is why wealth is predictable. Not because outcomes are guaranteed, but because behavior repeats. Repeated behavior compounds. Compounded behavior creates financial patterns. Patterns attract money or repel it. This is why two people with the same knowledge end up in different places. Knowledge informs. Identity decides. One person learns about saving and feels deprived. Another learns the same thing and feels secure. One sees investing as risk. Another sees it as ownership. The information is identical. The identity is different. Money reacts to the difference. Identity shapes how you interpret opportunity. It determines whether you see a choice as optional or necessary, whether restraint feels painful or empowering, whether patience feels boring or strategic. These interpretations guide action automatically. Money responds automatically as well. This is why wealth cannot be forced sustainably. You cannot outwork an identity mismatch. You cannot hustle past habits. You cannot override instincts forever. Eventually, behavior returns to baseline. Baseline behavior is identity in motion. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They do not chase outcomes first. They shape identity. They adopt the behaviors of wealth long before wealth arrives. Not because they are pretending, but because they are aligning. Alignment creates consistency. Consistency creates trust with money. Money trusts patterns. It moves toward reliability. This is why wealthy people appear disciplined without effort. Their identity supports restraint. They do not constantly debate decisions. They do not negotiate with themselves repeatedly. They already know how they behave. Identity removes friction. Friction drains energy. Energy loss degrades judgment. Judgment errors cost money. Aligned identity eliminates unnecessary internal conflict. This is why wealthy people often feel calm around money. They are not constantly deciding. They are being. This does not mean identity is fixed. It is built quietly, over time, through repeated choices. Identity is the accumulation of evidence. Every time you act in alignment with a value, that value strengthens. Every time you violate it, identity weakens. Money watches the evidence. It responds to consistency. This is why small behaviors matter. How you treat small amounts of money is how you will treat large ones. Scale does not change identity. It reveals it. This is why sudden wealth disappears. Money arrives before identity is ready. Behavior does not change fast enough. Identity pulls money back to familiar levels. This is not punishment, it is gravity. Money flows toward the level where behavior feels natural. Trying to hold money beyond identity capacity creates tension. Tension creates leakage. Leakage returns money to baseline. The wealthy expand identity before expanding lifestyle. They practice restraint early. They normalize patience. They rehearse long-term thinking. By the time money arrives, their behavior already knows what to do. Money feels safe with them. Safety attracts more money. This is why money often clusters. It stays where it is treated predictably. Identity also determines risk tolerance, not stated risk tolerance. Actual behavior under pressure. Some identities seek relief from discomfort. Others tolerate discomfort to protect structure. Money flows toward the latter. Because discomfort avoided early becomes loss later. The wealthy are comfortable with delayed gratification because their identity is not tied to immediate reward. They do not need money to validate them. Validation dependency is expensive. It influences spending. It accelerates decisions. It distorts priorities. Money avoids distortion. Identity free from validation pressure behaves cleanly. Clean behavior compounds. This is also why wealthy people think in decades, not months. Identity anchored in long-term perspective does not react to short-term noise. Noise does not alter behavior. Behavior remains stable. Stability attracts capital. Money avoids volatility of character. It prefers predictability. Identity also shapes how people handle boredom. Boredom is where identity reveals itself. Some escape boredom through spending. Others use it to build. Some fill boredom with consumption, others with creation. Money follows the latter, because creation builds structure. Structure creates opportunity. Opportunity multiplies money. This is why wealth often looks uneventful from the outside. It is built during long periods where nothing exciting happens. Those periods test identity. Can you behave consistently without reward? Can you resist temptation without applause? Can you stay aligned when progress feels invisible? Identity answers these questions daily. Money listens. This is why goals without identity work feel hollow. You can achieve them temporarily, but without alignment, success feels fragile. Fragility invites fear. Fear influences behavior. Behavior under fear destroys structure. Structure loss erodes wealth. The wealthy reduce fear by building identity that trusts process. They trust delayed outcomes. They trust repetition. They trust boring consistency. Trust reduces emotional interference. Reduced interference preserves compounding. This is why money follows identity, not goals. Goals are external targets. Identity is internal operating system. Money interacts with the system. Change the system, and outcomes change naturally. This also explains why advice often fails. Advice targets action, but identity controls execution. If advice conflicts with identity, it is ignored or abandoned. The wealthy do not rely on advice. They rely on principles that shape identity. Principles guide behavior automatically. Automatic behavior compounds. Compounding behavior creates wealth. This is the hidden mechanism. Not motivation, not inspiration, not ambition, identity. This is why wealthy people rarely speak in goals. They speak in standards. Standards define identity. I don't do that. I don't make decisions that way. I don't trade long-term stability for short-term excitement. These are identity statements. Money respects them. Goals ask for change. Identity enforces it. This is the final rule because it governs all others. Effort fails when identity resists leverage. Loss occurs when identity tolerates risk. Assets are built when identity values ownership. Compounding works when identity respects time. Energy is protected when identity values clarity. Systems are built when identity prioritizes structure. Silence is maintained when identity avoids validation. All rules collapse into identity. Identity is the root. Money follows the root. Ignore this, and progress will always feel temporary. Respect it, and wealth becomes a natural consequence. Not dramatic, not loud, not fast, but durable. And durability is the true signal of wealth. Wealth is often described as an arrival point, a number, a milestone, a moment where pressure finally disappears. But that idea is misleading, because wealth is not something you reach and then keep forever. It is something you maintain through behavior, restraint, and awareness. What this audiobook has shown is simple, but not easy. Money does not reward effort. It does not forgive large mistakes. It does not care about appearances, and it does not respond to goals alone. It responds to rules. Rules that operate quietly. Rules that do not negotiate. Rules that apply whether you believe in them or not. The people who stay wealthy are not special. They are consistent. They violate fewer rules over long periods of time. That is the entire difference. Wealth is not built by dramatic wins. It is preserved by avoiding irreversible losses. It is not created by working harder. It is created by designing structures that outlive effort. It does not grow through urgency. It grows through patience. It does not tolerate chaos. It favors clarity. It does not need explanation. It thrives in silence. And it does not follow wishes. It follows identity. These rules are not tactics. They are filters. They shape how decisions are made when no one is watching. They guide behavior under stress. They determine whether time becomes an ally or an enemy. This is why wealth feels calm to some and fragile to others. Calm is not confidence. Calm is alignment. Alignment between behavior and how money actually works. When that alignment exists, money stops feeling unpredictable. Not because outcomes are guaranteed, but because reactions are controlled. Control is not dominance, it is restraint. Restraint is what protects momentum. Momentum protected long enough becomes compounding. Compounding sustained long enough becomes wealth. This process is not fast, it is not exciting, and it rarely looks impressive from the outside. But it works. Quietly, reliably, relentlessly. What matters most is not how much you know, but how consistently you behave in accordance with what you know. Knowledge without identity is temporary. Identity without consistency is unstable. But identity, reinforced by repeated behavior, becomes automatic, and automatic behavior compounds without effort. This is where freedom begins. Not the freedom to spend recklessly, but the freedom from constant financial pressure, freedom from urgency, freedom from comparison, freedom from the need to prove progress. That freedom is not flashy. It is deeply personal. It shows up as sleep without anxiety, as decisions made without panic, as patience without frustration. It shows up as time. Time not constantly traded. Time not constantly defended. Time not constantly compressed. Time allowed to work. Wealth, at its core, is time defended by structure. Structure built slowly, protected carefully, and respected consistently. If there is one thing to carry forward from this audiobook, it is this. You do not need to do extraordinary things. You need to stop doing destructive ones. Stop relying on effort alone. Stop chasing gains without protection. Stop trading time without ownership. Stop interrupting compounding. Stop draining energy unnecessarily. Stop inflating lifestyle before structure exists. Stop narrating progress. Stop setting goals that conflict with identity. None of these require talent. They require awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice repeated creates identity. Identity aligned with these rules attracts wealth naturally, not immediately, not dramatically, but inevitably. Wealth is not a finish line. It is a relationship, one built on respect for how money behaves, maintained through discipline without obsession, and protected through silence, patience, and structure. When you stop fighting money and start respecting its rules, it stops resisting you. It does not rush. It does not excite. It stays. And staying is the point. This is not the end of the journey. It is the foundation. What happens next depends not on what you heard here, but on what you repeatedly do after. Quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice. That is how wealth is built. And more importantly, that is how it lasts. If there is one quiet realization that ties everything together, it is this. Wealth is less about what you accumulate and more about what you consistently refuse to do. Refuse to rush. Refuse to impress. Refuse to trade long-term stability for short-term relief. These refusals don't feel heroic. They don't look ambitious, and they rarely earn applause. But over time, they shape a life that feels different. A life where decisions are not driven by urgency, where money is not constantly defended, where progress does not need to be announced to feel real. This is the kind of wealth that does not announce itself. It simply stays through uncertainty, stays through change, stays when motivation fades, not because it is protected by luck, but because it is supported by structure, identity, and restraint. Nothing in this audiobook asks you to become someone else overnight. It only asks you to notice patterns, to respect limits, and to align behavior with how money actually behaves. Do that long enough, and wealth stops feeling like something you chase. It becomes something that quietly keeps pace with you. And that, more than any number, is what financial peace truly feels like.